Hello, my name is Amy Poehler, and I play Lisa in the film Moxie.
My name is Alicia Pascual Peña, and I play Lucy Hernandez.
My name is Hadley Robinson, and I play Vivian Carter.
Hi, my name is Josie Toda, and I play CJ.
Welcome back, everyone. I really hope you loved Moxie as much as I did. I wanted to start with you, Amy, if I can, to ask you really kind of what attracted you to the story of Moxie, not just as a director, but also as a producer.
Yeah, our company is always looking to tell specific and interesting female-led stories and projects, and we loved the passion that the source material had, Jennifer Mathieu's book. And the YA genre in general does a beautiful job of taking on very big ideas and big feelings. And I loved the respect she had for her characters, the way she didn't condescend to them, and how a lot of the characters represented, a spectrum of how to stay involved and active, so that the hope was that when you watch the film, there's somebody you identify with, somebody that challenges you, and hopefully you see some version of yourself up there. So all of those things were kind of initial reasons to want to make it. And also, making a film takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to decide what you want to spend your time and effort on. How do you want to use the currency that you have? So I was excited about being around this kind of material, and lucky to also get to be around these kind of women.
And I mean, congratulations to all of you and to the cast members that aren't joining us for this Q&A for just stunning performances. And Hadley, if I can move over to you and ask you about Vivian, who goes through this real transformation in the film, including making mistakes and learning from them and learning about herself. I wanted to ask you, what was the most important thing for you to?
Oh yeah, well, I think you're right. Vivian really does have a messy journey from start to finish, and it's not perfect. There's a lot of failure that happens, and I think she's aware of that, and I think that's necessary. I think it's a part of the journey, because no journey through self-discovery is ever perfect. And I think that's a really important message to convey to people, that in the process of discovering what you care about, what you believe in, and standing up for yourself, finding your voice for the first time, these aren't easy things, and it's not going to come easy, and you're going to make mistakes, and you keep moving forward anyways.
Absolutely. And Alicia, if I can move on to you. Lucy, in a way, is a real catalyst for the story of Moxie, for the creation of the zine and the movement that emerges from it. So could you talk a little bit about why it's so important for her to call things by their name?
Absolutely. It's an honor to play Lucy, because she unapologetically shows up as herself in every scene and uses her voice to really call out the injustices going on around her, and specifically at this school. I think it's unfortunate that people in general, but specifically women, have to normalize so much that is not right. And I think that there's so much power and agency in Lucy specifically saying, this is wrong, it's not okay, and we should be doing things to change it. And this is not some arbitrary force. These situations and oppressive injustices are happening because of misogyny and because of this patriarchy, and normalizing that women shouldn't have as much of a voice as men. So I think it's an honor to play a character who is so outspoken and really talks about the implications of upholding a patriarchy and elitism and sexism and misogyny throughout the film.
And Josie, jumping straight back to you, kind of piggybacking on that question, CJ also is a big force on calling out, especially a lot of double standards that refer to how achievements by men and achievements by women are treated and how they're celebrated. And can you talk about what you think it's so important for her to call that out? And specifically in the film, they kind of talk about sports, but also the arts.
Well, it's just blasphemous that someone could be doing the same thing, have the same amount of skill or less, and be held to a higher regard because of their gender identity, because of their race. That's not a surprise to us. It's been around for so long. But I think Alicia said it best. I think if we don't call it out, no one will. And we're just going to continue to be bystanders, this oppressive system and structure that keeps putting white men in positions of power and awarding them for being in those positions, and putting Black people of color, marginalized communities, and disenfranchised people under. Yeah.
And Amy, if I can move over to you, one of the things that really struck me was that a lot of the key creative roles of the film are occupied by women. So I was wondering, how important was it for you to work with the mostly female crew on the making of Moxie?
I work with women every day, all day. I prefer it because I think that women are incredible multitaskers. They're big thinkers. I like often how women approach the creative process. And I do think that it was very important in this particular job for the men and women to feel safe on set. But I think that, you know, we have a long way to go as far as raising the numbers of people behind the camera and in changing the faces of the gatekeepers who make big creative decisions. And I know in every production, that is something you really have to try to pay attention to, and it just does not always come naturally. And, you know, much like my character in the film, I've seen incredible progress over the past 20 years, but for a young person experiencing the world today, it seems not nearly enough, right? So you have to constantly manage those two things. Look how far we've come, and yet one must stay impatient and active in order for change to happen.
And Hadley, Josie, and Alicia, this is really a question for all of you. Film, one of the things that really struck me about Moxie is the friendship that develops between all the characters. And I was wondering if you could talk about what do you think the film adds to how female and especially young women's friendships are portrayed on screen, and what about it are you especially proud of?
I feel like I grew up with high school films. I'm just diving right in here. With a lot of high school films where women were often pitted against each other and taught to tear each other down, and were always against each other. And you did see female friendships represented in a way that really felt like it had a lot of truth to it, from my own experience. Like with my friends, it always felt like the foundation was support and listening, and like, you're my rock, no, you're my rock. And I didn't feel like I saw that nearly enough. And I think a lot of the friendships in this movie almost feel like relationships because they're that important, they're that weighty, you know, and you can also see these girls go through turbulence together, but then make it out okay in the end, which is really important as well. Even when there's maybe they have different opinions on something and there's messiness, like they come out okay. And that's important.
And it was important too, you know, so many films are about women being looked at. We really wanted this for our female characters to be the ones doing the looking and doing the watching. It's kind of the why we shoot Nico, our Seth, the way we shoot him. We really want him to be seen through Vivian's lens. And that was really important in terms of the friendship, is we really wanted Vivian to get us into the story, but then the story becomes everyone's story. So we start to feel like Moxie becomes this much bigger thing, taken over, passed around. So that was important in terms of shooting.
I truly feel like Lucy, I keep saying this over and over, but I really do think it becomes Lucy's story, and she's the true hero of the story. I mean, without her, the spark wouldn't be ignited, you know, and then the flames wouldn't grow, and to use that metaphor. But yeah, and their relationship is, personally, I think one of the most important besides her and Claudia's. Like, Seth doesn't come until like all the girls' relationships before him, you know? Yeah.
I think, yeah, I completely agree with Hadley. To explore that relationship on screen with her was just such a pleasure and privilege. And I think it's such an honor to be a part of a story that's centering around us. I think that's something that was lacking when I was growing up. There were so many stories that I didn't personally relate to because I felt as if it was inauthentic. Because so many stories about women are based around superficiality and physique, and I didn't feel like that was true in my life because the women around me shaped me and were inspiring figures, and, you know, empowered women empower women. And that was a notion that was always so true in my life. And I felt like it was lacking in film and lacking in the media. So to now be a part of a film that allows these women of all different walks of life with different perspectives to come together, and really want the best, and then challenge the system that they're a part of, is just beautiful. I think the friendship and womanhood, and seeing it celebrated, and seeing our minds celebrated, and seeing us all look different, is really powerful. I love that this story is about intersectional feminism, and not this one idea of what womanhood is, because unfortunately we're fed that falsehood as well, that femininity is this one thing, and that's a construct, and it's unfortunate that we have to feed into these ideals that aren't always true. So to be a part of a film that celebrates women and uplifts them in all of their beauty, but also acknowledges that women are multidimensional, and we can be different and unique and have our distinct journeys, but come together and celebrate our own journeys. Yeah.
That's beautifully put, and kind of a perfect segue to my next question. I want to direct it to you, Amy, but really chip in. What do you think women still need from feminism as a movement?
Oh, so much. I think that, you know, what is so amazing about continuing to investigate yourself is that you start to parse out what you have yet to learn and what you must unlearn. And so with age, experience, wisdom, sometimes there's this incredible strength that comes from getting through times, especially with other, there's a bond that's very special. And also there can be an armor that makes you think that your way is the right way, or that because you did it this way, this is the way it should be done. And what is so great is every time people are asked to go in, look at themselves, figure out what's calcified in them and what's still kind of flexible, then we connect with each other. We change. So to your point, I think that it's a lifelong practice, like practicing compassion, practicing understanding, practicing patience. That is the same way with feminism. It's going to look different. It should morph, and it should belong to different people, and it should feel like it's like a feeling, right? And so that's what was important about Moxie, is the characters kind of represent the spectrum of activism and movement. And you have someone like Lucy who feels really comfortable being in the front, naming what she sees and kind of leading the charge. And then you have someone like Claudia, who will probably end up being a person who changes laws, who behind the scenes, who is the person who, puts in the hours to make, to legislate change. There's all different ways in which you can make change. You just have to continue to kind of keep looking inward.
Which is a kind of really nice way to lead into my next question. And the film really deals with feminist activism and the legacy of it, and kind of remembering what other women before us did. Did you form any relationships? Did you hear from or research any real life activists during the making of Moxie?
Oh gosh, well, I feel like I've been reading a lot of female writers for a while now, because I've been in different feminist worlds just through my work. I've gotten really lucky to be a part of that world. And so I've been reading like Gloria Steinem for the first time, and Joan Didion and Patti Smith. And that's how I really connect with feminism, is through female voices on the page. It's something that really works for me, and I can pull life advice as well as how to be the best feminist that I can be. And like Maya Angelou, like just like a diverse array of female writers that I can really dive into and like learn about other people's experiences through that. So that's been my journey for a while.
Absolutely. I'm very grateful that even before I had the vernacular to articulate it, I think my life has been driven by activism. And it's the root, I think, of everything that I do, is to lead in love and to educate through empathy. And so much of my power and inspiration comes from my ancestors. So specifically working on this film, it allowed me the privilege to do that with a character, and to be specifically inspired by women who I've always just been enamored with, like Angela Davis, Ashada Shakur, Nina Simone, Frida Kahlo, Maya Angelou, women currently, like, you know, our Viola Davises, Kerry Washingtons, I can go on and on, Amy Poehler. You know what I mean? Women that inspire me as an artist, as an activist, as an individual. So that was one of my favorite parts about breathing life into this character, was being able to learn from the ancestors before me, but also commit myself to wanting to do better, be better. There's accountability and continuous growth that happens in all activism. And learning that we all have something to give in the movement, even if it looks differently for different people, which I think is one of the greatest beauties about the film. You all have voice and you all have agency, and it's going to look different for each individual, but we can all be implementing change around us, and that can have, you know, micro thank you. Yes, this is why you do interviews with your bestie next to you. Yes, micro implications are macro, but it causes change. So there were a lot of women I looked and delved deeper into that I've just always been inspired by, but also allowed to lead me through the film.
That's beautifully, again, it's like we prepped this, segueing into my next question, because this is coming in Women's History Month. So I wanted to ask, are there any women that are inspiring to you right now?
So many.
All we do is talk about
all we do is talk about women in this house.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned Viola Davis.
Yeah, there's so many women in our industry, but also
even our age.
I was just gonna say
Yara Shahidi, Amanda Stenberg, incredible women that we look up to as role models, and not only in the industry, but just ethically and as humans.
I think it's really beautiful to see the vigor and just passion from the youth, because I think for so long we're told, you know, you don't know enough about the world and you can't change it. So I think it's so beautiful to see this power and movement of the youth speaking out and saying sustainability matters. Calling out racial injustice matters. All of these things matter, and we have a voice to speak out against those things. So we talk about women in this house
Amanda
all
Gorman.
the time.
Amanda Gorman right now. She is the moment. We were just talking about her.
Obsessed.
We can go on for days.
We can go on for days, but yes, a lot of women. So many women.
And Hadley, what about you?
I mean, I was just gonna scream out Rihanna, because that's always the first. That's just the first person who pops into my head, and I'm just gonna go Rihanna. Yeah, she got me through some rock, and she's still my rock. She's really inspiring to me, personal reasons, as an artist, as a human, as an activist, across the board, and she celebrates all women, whatever shape, size, like where you come from. What you've been through, and I always just have looked up to her.
And Amy, what about yourself?
Well, I think too, who people that are inspiring me right now are working women and single mothers. I think the quarantine has been really difficult on women. We've dropped out of the workforce in record numbers, especially in Black and brown women, and mothers and children are getting crushed by what we're experiencing here in the States as far as kids not being in school. And I just feel like more than ever, we've realized what women do in the home. And there's so many women that have had to sacrifice a lot to teach their kids, to feed their kids, to keep their families together. There's a lot of food insecure people in the country right now. And I feel like this quarantine has been especially hard on women and incredibly hard on working and single mothers. So I think about them a lot and have been about them a lot. And I know this sounds very trite, but I don't know. I hope this movie entertains them. I hope they get to, finish teaching, feeding, bathing, and putting their kids to bed, and they get to watch this for themselves. And maybe their daughters and sons enjoy it too.
Amy, if I can stay with you for a second, we're right off the back of the Golden Globes, and piggybacking off what you were saying about working women and single mothers. When Hollywood, what would you like to see from award shows and the industry in general when it comes to the inclusion and the treatment of women?
Well, award shows are silly, right? I mean, in some ways they're important because they kind of dictate what we're supposedly caring about. And then in other ways, they're really, really random entertainment experiences. So both of those things are true. So I think that the more diverse voices and the more ways in which women are included in front and behind the camera is only better for the industry. And we have a ways to go. And I do think that, you know, Hollywood is just like another word for like the system. And so when we look at the system has ways in which people don't have access. So the more you can create access for young filmmakers, for people who are not usually seen on screen. I mean, I know we all feel that feeling, and it's what we hope we try to feel when we watch Moxie. They see someone that they recognize. That's someone like me. That's something I would do, or that's something that's happened to me. And that may inspire people to go on and make their own art. So I think it's access. I think it's education, and also, you know, award shows are, I mean, awards are even strange. I mean, I think it's always strange to award people for their art, you know, having participated in them and been next to people whose work I really admire. Who says what is what and whose is best and what does that mean? But yeah, so I think there's a lot to unpack there for sure.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for in today's Q&A. Thank you so much, Hadley, Alicia, Josie, and Amy, for your time and for making Moxie. I truly wish I'd seen this film as a teenager myself, and I hope that as many people as possible get to see it and be inspired by its energy. Moxie will be available globally on Netflix from Wednesday, March the 3rd. And thank you everyone for tuning in today, and spread the word.